When working on a React project, we never want to pass around props across components. It's very problematic, so we have use context. But an even better option is to use one state management library, and in this video, we will learn about Recoil. But before proceeding ahead, do you folks know that only 3% of you are subscribed to my channel? So please subscribe to my channel, it's absolutely free, and it also gives me a lot of motivation. So let's get started. So I have created one empty React project and I have also initialized Tailwind CSS for quick styling. Now we only have one app component with the to-do list required. So now let's create the basic structure of our to-do list. So first of all, our to-do list should contain one input form and then the to-do list should contain our to-dos. So let's say we will create another folder here. I will name it components and inside this we will have our to-dos .tsx and let's say inside our to-dos we will have two more things. So we will have our input box .tsx and we will also have our individual to-do .tsx. I think that's all. Now in our app.tsx, let's create the basic structure that we need. So we have to-do list required and then we will simply pass our to-dos, and before that we also have to import it. So I will do import to-dos and we will get it by default, I suppose. No. So okay, let's get it like this components. And actually the reason we are not getting is because we have not created something to export. So we are exporting to-dos. Now we are back to our app.tsx and here I will import my to-dos and we have it. So we can see to-dos here. Now, let's see what we need inside our to-dos. So inside our to-dos, so we need our input box and the list of all our to-dos. So let's create our input box and export it. And let's also create some to-do and export it. Now inside our to-dos, I will import these things. So I will import my input box and I will also import my individual to-do. Now using these things, we have to create the to-dos. So now let's remove this div to dos. Let's create something, one div with an empty class name, and let's also remove the Spanish English. I think this is a pain, but anyway. So here, first of all, we need the input box, and we will soon write the input box. So we have the input box here, and then we need to loop through our to-dos. So now, how can we get the to-dos? And we can get the to-dos from some to-do variable. So we know that in React we can create to-dos and then set to-dos. And now we can use one something called useState, and then inside we can initialize one empty array. But because we are using Recoil, we will not be using one useState. Rather, what we will be using is something called use recoil state. And before doing that, we need to take a quick look at the recoil documentation. So this is the recoil documentation, recoiljs.org. You can also check it out. And this is the getting started page. So what they want to do is, first of all, create one React app that we have already done. Hopefully you have also. And then we have to install recoil. So this is something also that I have done. You should also do, or you can also use yarn. Now, what do we need to do? First of all, we need to wrap our whole app inside the recoil root, and then we can use recoil. And then we have to create something called an atom. So the atom is like our like initial state. So for example, we will identify some text by the text state, and the default in this case is empty. Um, we can do anything we want for with the default. It is like the initial value of the use state. And now when we go down, you can see that they are using use recoil state to access the text state, and basically the rest of the things will work as usual, and we will see this soon. And there is also something called selector. So what the selector does is, it basically allows us to access the atoms, not the atoms, like whatever we are doing inside the atoms, it allows us to access that. So for example, we have get, and they are trying to get the text state, and they are returning the text string. So this is how we can use both atoms and selectors, and this is something we will see now in our simple to-do list application. So inside our components, okay, let's close the components, and inside our src we will create another folder, and I will name this folder as let's say state. And inside the state, we will now create two more folders. And the first one will be, as we discussed, it will be atoms. And the second folder will be our selectors. So first of all, inside our atoms, we will create some state. So let's name it to do state. And we can create one JS file here only. So to do state.js. And what do we want to declare inside our to do state? So as we have seen in the documentation, first of all, we have to import atom from our recoil. And then we have to do some kind of export. So we will do export const to do state. And we will write atom. And what do we want to export? So we want to export some key. So let's name the key as capital T to do state. And what is the default value? So the default or the initial value is an empty array. And the to do state is done. And let's also create some selector. So the selector will allow us to basically select this to do state. So inside our selector, let me just create another JS file. Let's say we want how many to-dos are there. So I will write total to-dos dot js. And inside, I will first of all import the selector. So import selector from recoil. And then we also have to import the to-do state that we have declared inside our atom. So import to-do state from, and we can write it like this, atoms, and then our to-do state. That's all. Now we will also export our const to total to-dos. So let me write one variable total to-dos. And here we will have the selector. And what does the selector do? So the selector will first of all access, and it will access by the key. And what is the key? The key is, in this case, it's to-do state, but we are accessing the selector. We are not really accessing the atom. So one thing we must, always remember is whether we are using atoms or selectors, the key is a must because this is how we are accessing it. So we have to create another key here. So let me write total to-dos. And then we need to like declare what we want to do. So we want to get it. So the syntax is something like this. You can also like copy it from the documentation. Like nobody can remember all of the syntax. And then let me write simply const to-dos equals to and then get our to-do state. So this will basically get that initially this is an empty array, but we will add a lot of to-dos here. So at a certain point of time, like what is the situation of this thing? And then lastly, what we will do is we will simply return our to-dos dot length. And one thing to remember is that we can also return to-dos, and then it will return the whole array. And then once we are accessing it, then also we can get the length. But let's say since we have named it total to-dos, so I will return to-dos dot length. So that is with our atoms and selectors. Now let's see how can we use them inside our React components. So let me just go back to my to-dos and what do we need here? So we have to-dos and set to-dos. So now let me just import use state also. We may need it in the future. But what we want to import is actually our use recoil state and also our atom. So use recoil state from our recoil, and then we will import our basically to-do state also, to-do state from wherever is our atom. So it is inside state, and then it is inside atoms, and then it is inside our to-do state. That's all. Now we have const to-dos and set to-dos. So here instead of use state, I will use recoil state, and I will pass my to-do state. Now if I simply log the to-dos, we will see that we are getting an empty array, but we are getting an error. Let's see why this is the case. So fail to resolve import recoil from. Okay, so I think I have not really installed recoil. So I will just open another terminal I will go to cd client and I will simply do npmi recoil. Now this issue will be most likely gone. Now, apart from importing the input box, what else do we need inside our to-dos? So let's check that. So let's say we have a to-dos like array. So after the input box, what we want to do is something like this: to-dos dot map, and here we will have access to the to-do. And now we want to return one to-do. So I will return my to-do that we have already declared. So we will return something like this. And we also want to basically pass our basically to do ID, to do name, whatever is associated with our to do, we want to pass that. And whenever we are returning something, there must be some key. And let's say the key is the to do index. So we will have to do. And the second argument is index for map function. So the key is index. And let's say the to do has some ID. Um, let's say the to do will have some name, and the name will be to do dot name, and then the to do will have some, let's say, completed, that is the checkbox. So we will have something called to do dot completed. We still don't have anything like this, but we will soon declare, and some ID. So that will be to do dot ID, and this is something we will see inside our to do. Okay, now everything is gone, and that is because we still don't have many things. Okay, so this is because the required root is absent. So we have to wrap everything around the recoil root. So let me just import recoil root from recoil. And now we have to wrap our app inside the recoil root. So recoil root, and let's keep the app inside. And we have everything as it is. So that's all. So the recoil issues are gone. And now we have the console log to empty arrays. And that is because to do's is still an empty array. Now let's also create our input box, and then it will look a little bit better. So inside our input box, what do we need? So we need one input box, one send button, and other things. So let's create that quickly. Let's remove this default input box. Let's wrap everything inside one div. And here, let me just create one input. Type will be text. Placeholder will be, let's say, enter to do. And then it should be enter to do, not enter to do. And then class name will be something that gives a good style. I will simply use minimal styles. So let me just give text of Excel so that it's a little bit bigger, and then also some border, and also let's say shadow of MD. I think that's all. And then we need to give one value. So let's give the value as input text, and we need to define what is the input text. So at the top, I will use state variables. So input text, and then set input text equals to use state. And we don't need one recall state here because this is something local. So default it will be empty, something empty. So also now let me just import use state. So use state from React. I think we don't need the top one. We don't need to import React. And after the value, we will have on change. And this on change, we will have access to E. And then set input text, we will have E dot target dot value. And I think we need to also import some kind of formatter because these things are not getting formatted. Maybe I will download, and then from next video we will not be having these issues. But it's better to keep them in separate lines. So we will have this input, and then we will have two buttons. So we will have a button, this will be add, and then we will have another button, and this will be, let's say, clear. Now let's also do something else. So flex and then gap of 4. Now let's create individual buttons. So this button will have an on click, and let's say we have a function called add to do, and this button will have another on click. And let's say we have a function called clear to do's. Now Let's also give some styles. So the styles will be minimal once again. Text white and BG of green 600 over BG of green 500. And let's also do something like rounded MB and also shadow of MB, I think. Okay. Add to do is not defined here. So the issue is we have to define the functions also because we have declared and it will throw some error if we don't have them. So add to do is here, and then we will also have a function called function, not function, of clear to dos, and this will be an empty function right now. So we have the add. I think we also need something like px of 2. Yeah. And now we will copy this thing and paste something similar for the clear. Maybe I will simply change the color. So class name will be something similar, but the color will be instead of green, it will be, let's say, gray. And let's see how does it work. And I think it's good enough. So now what else do we need? We need to write these functions. That's it. Let's have some more space. And now what are the things that we need to do inside our functions? So we have input text, set input text, that is fine. But once we have the input, we also have to set our to-dos. So we will once again like import our to-dos and then set to-dos. And here we will use recoil state, recoil state. And we know that it should be initialized to to-do state. And that's all. But we also need to import them. So import use recoil state from recoil and also import our to-do state. It doesn't know where it is coming from, so state, then atoms, and then our to-do state. That's it. And now we need to set them. And also one more thing to note is that since here we are not really using our to-dos, we can also use something like const set to-dos equals to use set require state. So, and we can simply pass our to-do state. We don't really need the above line. And that is because we don't really need the to-dos, and this is another function which only takes the set function. So I think we can also use this one. So let me just remove the above line. And now how can we set them? So when we are adding our to-dos, so what we want to do is we want to like whatever name we are writing, we want that to be added. And that's it. So we will simply do set to do's and inside what we want to do. So inside, first of all, we will have access to all our previous to do's, and then what then we will simply write um, we will basically we have an array and we basically will destructure the array previous to do's. So all arrays are destructured and one more array will be added, and this will have some id of v4, and this is actually coming from uuid, so we need to install uuid also, and it is that will help us to create random IDs. So npm I uuid, I can write in the terminal, you can see here, and then we can basically import v4 from, I mean, uuid. You can also use date.now, but I would prefer to use the uuid. And so we have id v4, and the name of the to do will be our input text, and then we have uncompleted, that is our basically checkbox, and that will be, let's say, false by default, and that's all. Now let's see it works or not. So once we write this thing and after this thing, let's say, okay, we cannot really console log the to-dos because we have changed this thing to say use require state. So let me just go back to my to-dos, and here um hmm, okay, A And as you can see, it has changed because it is console logging the to-dos here. And the name is a completed is false, so these things are correct. So I think it works. Now, also we need to take care of the clear to-dos. So what do we need to do over here is we will simply do set to-dos to this thing. And that is it. Everything will be empty. And also another issue is that once we are basically adding, um, the A is still here. So we need to take care of it also. So I will simply do set input text to an empty string. And then this thing will be gone, add, and as you can see, it's gone. So now we are only getting to do and to do. And that is because the to-dos are getting added. But what happens is there is nothing inside this to-do. So that is the reason, and we will take care of the to-do now. So if I now click on clear, as you can see, it is empty. If I refresh and everything is empty. Yeah, so the to-dos are working, but one issue is that it's not an issue. It doesn't look very good. I mean, so let's add some minimal styles so that at least it looks minimally good. So we will go to our app.tsx and here I will simply do a flex and then flex call and also then gap of 4. I think this is fine. We will also do some padding top of 8, let's say. I think 4 is fine. And maybe we need to do items center. Okay, now it looks good. Now if I add some to-dos, let's see what happens. So still the same issue. So anyway, we will go to our to-dos now. And inside my to-dos, so maybe here also we need to do the same thing. So we will have flex and then flex call and then items center. Okay, now when I style the to-dos, so this will look much better. And also let's also do one more thing, and that is some gap of 4. Yeah. Now we will basically style our to-dos. So what do we need inside our to-dos? So first of all, inside our to-dos, we are passing some props to our to-do, and that is the name, completed, and ID. So inside our to-do, we will have access to that. So we will have access to some name, and then completed, and lastly ID. And now we basically need to write a beautiful to-do. So what do we need? First of all, we'll remove the to-do as expected, and now one empty class name. And then inside, I will create two more divs. So the first div will contain the checkbox and the to-do text, and the next div will contain two buttons with the edit and delete. That's it. So in the first class name, let me just simply do one input. Type will be checkbox, and then check will be basically the completed. So we only have a checkbox, nothing else, and let's make it read only. That's it. And I think there are some issues. Warning, you have provided a check prop to form field without an on-change handler. Okay, we will add the on-change handler later. And actually, we don't really need it because this is read only. So this doesn't need on-change. And now we will create another input. And here, let's also add some to-dos so that A, B, C. And now here we have text. And then after the text, we also need, actually, this is not an input. This will be one div because we are not taking any inputs here. So let's simply give the name. That's it. And A, B, C, whatever is there. And to make it better, we need to do a flex and then gap of 2 maybe. Okay. Okay, I think this is fine. Now after this one, we have the second div, and here inside we will have button. And let's create two buttons. The first button will be edit, and the second button will be delete. And now the class names we will actually copy from the input box. So here we have a class name for a button. Let me just copy this thing and we will go to our to do. For the edit one, I will create the class name and let's paste it. We have the edit. Now for the delete also, we will do something similar. Class name, paste it, but we will do change the color. So from green, I think the delete is good in red. So this is the situation. Now in our top level div, we will do a one flex and then justify between. And okay, and the reason this is happening, nothing is happening, and that is because the to-dos are very small, if you can see. So border 2, if I give, to-dos are very small. So let's create a larger to-dos. So width maybe 5 by 6. Now I think it is much better. It's still small, but I think it's good. Let's make it full. Yeah. Okay, now let's remove the border. Maybe we don't need it. Maybe we may need some background. So BG of, let's say, yellow maybe, or blue. BG blue of 200. And then let's also give some padding of 2. And then rounded of maybe how much? Rounded of MD is fine. Yeah. And also let's try to give some more space at the top. Maybe PT of 4. I mean, so much styles is not required, but anyway. Okay, actually it's not PT, it's PB of 4. No, I think we are giving styles to the wrong place. The styles should be for the input box class. I think we cannot give it here. We will go to our input box, and here at the top level div, we will give one PB of 4. Yeah, now I think it's good. Now we will go back to our to do. And I think now this is fine. Only thing we need to do is we will do one flex here and gap of 2. Yeah. So our basic level things are ready. And also I think both the edit and add is in green. I think that is not good. So I will also change the color for the add. So the add is in the input box and we have green here. Let's make it blue. So let's select the green and let's make it blue. Now I think it looks so many times better. So, I mean, the styling is up to you. You can do anything you want. So, I think that is good. And also, I think one more thing is required, and that is item center here. I think it's better not having it. Okay. So this is the situation. So we can add any to do, and it will be added, but still the edit, delete, and nothing else will work. If we clear, it will also be cleared, but we need to make it fully functional. So now let's see how can we deal with the edit and the delete. So we will first of all deal with the delete one because that is more simple. So let's see how can we do. So here I will add one on click and delete to do. And here we have to create one function called delete to do. So this will delete one individual to do. And let's see how can we do that. So this is actually very simple. We have to delete the to do by the ID that we are getting. And we will delete it from the basically the to-dos. So I will import my to-do state from my state and then my atoms and then the to-do state. That's it. And now how can we delete? That is very simple. And we need to basically do set to-dos and it will have access to all my previous to-dos. And what we want to do here? We want to basically return everything apart from one. So return previous to-dos dot filter. It will have access to one to-do and we will check that whether the ID is equal to the ID we are passing. If it is not equal, and so basically what this happens is whenever the ID is equal, it will not pass it to the previous to-dos, and so we will have one to-do less. And let's check it out. Okay, nothing is here. A, B, C. Let's delete the B. Okay. Set to do's is not defined. Yeah. So that is a valid issue. I mean, we need to define it. So const to do's, set to do's, and now use recoil state. It is already imported. And now we will simply do, we will simply pass the to do state. Now if I delete the B and it is deleting, so it works. Okay. And also there is no need to use the require state. We can use the use set require state. So const set to do's equals to use set require state. It's important. And then to do state because I don't think we will be needing the other one. So that's it. And now if I do the deleting the C, it is deleted. So it works. The delete works. And now the only thing that is left is the edit. And now the edit is actually more complex than it seems. So first of all, let me just create one on click of edit to do. And it is gone. That is correct because there is no such function of edit to do. So let me just create one function called edit to do. And now we will have our app back. So we have everything back. Let's also create to-dos by default. So A and B. I mean, I generally write more beautiful to-dos, but I think this is fine for now. Okay, so now what we need to do inside edit? So first of all, we have to create some kind of edit mode. So whenever we are in the edit mode, it will show a different screen. So how can we do that? And for to do that, I will create another atom, and this atom will be named as edit state .js. And this edit state will tell us that whether we are in the edit mode or not. So we will import atom from our recoil, let me know. And then we will do one export const of edit state and atom. And now let's write a key. The key will be, let's say, edit state. And the default will be false. So by default, we are not in the edit mode. That's it. Now we also have to create one selector. So let's name the selector as current edit state. So cur edit state dot js. Now from this current edit state, we will basically try to access at a particular time whether we are in the edit mode or not. So say import selector from recoil and import my edit state from, okay, it's smart enough now. Now we will do one export const of current edit state, and we will have selector. Now let's create one key. Let's name the key as cur edit state. I mean, you can give any other names, but for simplicity, I'm just giving the same name as the file name and as the variable name. So okay, anyway, now we will do get because we are trying to get it, and you can also check the syntax from the documentation, or you can simply follow along as you wish. Now const edit mode, let's write a different variable edit mode, and we will try to get the edit state. So at a particular time, what is the edit state? And we will simply return the edit mode. Now let's say it works or not. So in our edit state, not edit state, in our to do, we want to change the edit mode. So how can we do that? To do that, we will create another variable and then we will change the state. So let's write something like this. Const edit mode. Actually, again, we don't need this thing. We can simply do set edit mode equals to my use set recoil state, and we want to set our edit state, and we need to import also. So import edit state. Okay, it doesn't know where it is coming from, so dot state, then atoms, then edit state. Actually it's capital, I mean it's a file name, so it's edit state, e capital. Now whenever we are clicking, we need to set the edit mode to true. That's it. And then whenever the edit mode is true, we need to do something. So we will see what we need to do, and that we will do inside our to-dos. So inside our to-dos, so we again have to basically access the edit mode. So how can we access it? Simple, by our some variables. So edit mode and then set edit mode equals to use recoil state and then edit state, and we need to import. So after the to-do state, let's try to import the edit state from my. Why is it so unsmart? I always wonder. Maybe I should download some packages to make it smart. Actually, this is not to-do state, this is edit state. Yeah. Now let's see. We have edit mode and set edit mode. Now let's see we can get edit mode or not. So log edit mode. And actually we are logging the to-dos, but the to-dos is actually working. So let's remove it. Let's refresh. A V. Okay, everything is false. Now whenever we are clicking on edit, as you can see, it is true. So actually we can change the edit mode. So it works. Now what do we want to do when we have changed the edit mode? We want to have a different kind of screen. So I will write something like this. So if let's say edit mode is true, then we want to do something. Otherwise, we will do the normal thing. So here an empty like last name, whatever. And now inside, we will have one label. This will be, let's say, let's remove it. This will be, it will have a class name, let's say. And let's name edit to. And then we will have one input. Type will be text. Placeholder will be, let's say, uh, edit to do. And let's also give some class name. And now when I click on edit, okay, nothing happens. Let me just refresh. A, B. Okay, everything is false. Now if I click on edit, okay, it is showing true, but it is not. Okay, the reason nothing is happening is because we have to return it. If we don't return, definitely nothing will happen. So return everything. And as you can see, we have a different screen. So this is what we wanted. So let's say A, add, and whenever we are clicking on edit, we must be able to add edit the A. So let's complete the screen. So after this one, and also let's give some styles. So the class name, let's say, um, let's give text Excel, bigger text, and let's say padding right of 4. And for the next one also, text Excel, and then some border, shadow of MD. I think that is fine. Now, after the edit to do, we need the for the checkbox also. So, and also let's try to wrap this thing inside a div. So let me just create another div and inside wrap this thing. Now, let me just create a better format. So I think this is fine. Yeah. Now let's do the next thing, and that is for our checkbox. So another empty class name, and here label. Actually, we can simply copy paste the above label. So let me just Control C here and Control and yeah, it's taking a while like formatting it because I don't have the formatter downloaded. But you can download something like something that suits with this kind of code. Okay, anyway, we have type of text that is incorrect. It should be checkbox, and that's it. I think it is fine. It is fine. Maybe we can do some flex and gap. So flex, then flex call, and then gap of 4. Yeah. And lastly, we will have one button. So the button, what will the button do? So the button will be doing something like on click, update to do. And we again need to like create that one. So let's function update to do. Now at least we will not be having any errors. And now after the update to do, we will have a class name and we need to create some button. So let me do bg green of 600 and let's name the button as submit and bg green 600 over bg green of 500 text is white. Let's do py of 1 text excel and rounded full. Yeah, I think this is good enough. And maybe we don't need the py of 1. I think it is good as it is. So now we have these things. So whenever we are submitting, we need to change back the edit mode to our like false. So set edit mode to false. And also actually, so whenever we are clicking on it, we are getting back here, but nothing is changing. So we need to make the change happen. And how can I do that? And to make that happen, we need another item. So this item I will name as, let's say, edit to do state dot js. And here we will basically save whatever we are importing. So import atom from recoil, and then export const our edit to do state equals to my atom. And here inside we will have one key. The key will be, let's say, edit to do state, and the default value will be one empty object with a few empty things. So let's say id will be an empty string, and then name will be one empty string, and the completed will be by default false. Okay, now let's also create one selector for this. So the selector will be current edit to do state .js. And what do we need to do over here? So here we need to access it. So let me just import the selector 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 from, okay, I'm doing a lot of typos today, recoil. And then import, we need to import like our edit to do state from the correct place. So at least it is smart over here. And now we will, let's say, export current edit to do state equals to my selector. And now the key will be, let's say, edit to do state. And now get, and we will get something. So get, and the function will be having const of my current to do equals to my, basically we are getting the edit to do state. And now we will simply return my current to do. So once we are editing these things, so it will be stored to current to do, and that will be returned, which we have to use inside our to do's. So let's see how we can do that. So inside my to do's, so we have this return things, but we also need to add on change and everything here. And let's and we will not be creating any more files. So let me just get the whole space over here. And now let's see what we can do. So let me just at the top import the rest of the things. So after the edit mode, I will const do the, let's say, edit to do, and then set edit to do equals to use recoil state of basically whatever we are exporting. So edit to do state, and we need to import that also. So import import edit to do state from wherever it is, state atoms edit edit to do state, that is the file name. Okay, I think this is fine. Now we have the update to do, and inside the update to do, we need to basically find the index, whichever to do we want to basically edit. And before editing that, we need to set them also. So for example, in the edit to do state, everything is an empty string by default, but we don't want it. So inside our like to do, so we have the to do where we are doing the edit mode. So here we will set our basically edit to do state, and like you will see how it happens. So let me just do something like const set edit to do equals to my use set recoil state once again. And here we will do like use the edit to do state, and we also need to import that one. So import edit to do state from my state. Okay, state, then atoms, then edit to do state. It's here. And now we have access to this one. And now we will change it. So we will do one set edit, edit to do. And what do we want over here? So we want the ID to be the ID that we are passing. We want the name to be the name that we are passing, and we want the completed to be the completed that we are passing as the props. So basically these three values. So now we will go back to my whatever is that to do, right? I mean to do's. So to do's is at the top here. So now if I simply do one, let's say log of edit to do, and you will see what we get. So let me just refresh. A add, B add. Now if I click on the edit, okay, actually this we will get it once we click on the submit. So when we are clicking on the submit, as you can see, we have the name as B and the completed as false. So I mean it is able to access it. Now when we are clicking on the edit, here we want the B to be already present, and we also want the checkbox to be whatever is there. So we need to add the on change handlers also. So after the like our input, we will do one value, and this value will be edit to do dot name. And as you can see, we have P over here, and there will be an on change. And what will be this on change? That is the like primary question. And the primary question, the answer is that we have to change it inside our edit to do. So we will have access to 1E, and then we will do one set edit to do. And inside we will destructure the object. We will have everything that we have with edit to do, and we only want to change the name to the e dot target dot value. Very simple stuff. And that's it. Now for the checkbox, what we need to do. So the value will be edit. Actually, it's not value, it's checked. The checked will be my edit to do dot completed. And the on change will be something like we will again have access to the e and then set edit to do. And inside our edit to do, we will destructure all our edit to do, and then we will have completed, and this completed will be basically e dot target dot checked. Okay, some issue. Let's see what is the issue. Did not expect an annotation type in line number 31. Okay, type checkbox checked is edit to do dot completed. I think there is some issue maybe. Now let's try to find out what is the issue. So we have the E and we have this thing. Yeah, and whenever we are destructuring an object, we need to use the curly braces, and now this will be fine. So now if I, let's say, do change this thing to write SQL and submit, still nothing happens, and that is because we are doing nothing inside the function. So inside the function, what we need to do? So inside the function, we need to find the to do and then basically change it. So let's say we want to find the index. So const index, we can simply do something like to do's. We have access to the to do's here. To do's dot find index, and here we will have access to one to do. And let's see when the to do ID is equal to my edit to do ID. So we want to find that one, edit to do dot ID. So let's say we have found the index, and now the next thing we want to do is we want to create an array called updated to do's, let's say, and we will destructure all our to do's here. Now what about the updated to do's and index? So basically we found one index over here. We can log out the index, but it's like very simple thing. So let's log out the index also, and in this index we want to assign the our edit to do, and then we basically want to set to do's and then update to do's. It's actually updated to do's. Yeah. So now let's see. Let's remove everything. Whenever we are clicking on edit, true, submit. And as you can see, this is one and this is the one that is correct. So now Whenever this is 1, we basically want to change the 1 to whatever we are changing here. So let's write SQL and submit, and we have write SQL over here. Now this is read only, but we can make this completed and we have it completed over here. So for the first one, let me write JS checked, and this is working fine. So we have used Recoil, and we have made this basic to-do list application with everything is working. And the good part is we are not doing any prop drilling. So for example, we are not passing the props from the parent to the grandchild and also to components where it is not being used. And all of this is happening because of recoil. And how this is happening? Because the recoil root is wrapping everything. So everything it is able to access from the state, atoms, and selectors. So that is how one state management library works. So there is also Redux and others, but you can get started from Recoil. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching, and bye bye.